So number 11, solving tax rate or interest rate problems. And most of these you'll set up one equation that's F equals or S equals something, and then we're going to substitute in to solve these ones. It says John bought 2 computers, one desktop, one laptop. I'm going to use D for my desktop, L for my laptop, because I like to use variables that make sense to me. Before finance charges, the laptop cost me $1,000 less than the desktop. When you're translating those sentences, whatever one is mentioned first is the one you're going to set equal to something. The laptop costs. The laptop is $1,000 less than the desktop. How do I show $1,000 less than the desktop? I'm going to subtract. I'm going to take the desktop minus the 1,000, right? The minus has to go on the end because the desktop should cost more than what you're going to take away. Then I'm going to write my second equation, which has to do with some percents in there. John paid for the computer using 2 different financing plans. For the desktop, the interest rate was 5% per year. So I'm going to have 0.05, 5% of the price of my desktop, D. For the laptop, it was 7.5% per year. So 0.075 on my laptop was the interest. The total finance charges or the total interest for 1 year was $487.50. So this one, since we already have that top equation solved for L, is just as easy to solve by substitution instead of having to rearrange it to solve it by the addition method. So we're going to take this expression, the D minus 1,000, we're going to put it in the place of the L. So we're going to get rid of the L from there. And so if I rewrite that second equation, I'm going to have 0.05D plus 0.075, and in parentheses, I'm going to replace the L with D minus 1,000. Equals my 487.50. Now I have an equation that only has one variable, and I can go ahead and solve that. So 0.05D plus, using my distributive property, 0.075D, and then I got to take 0.075 times negative 1,000, which should be negative 75, because if I'm multiplying by 1,000, I just move my decimal 3 places, or I use my calculator, equals my 487.50. Since I have like terms, I can go ahead and combine my like terms. If I take 5% plus 7.5%, I'm going to have 12.5%, right? So 0.125D minus 75 equals 487.50. Points up kind of high. Well, in order to solve that, got to move my 75 to the other side. So I'm going to add my 75. 0.125D is going to equal, and what's 487.50 plus 75? 562.50. And then in order to solve that, all I'm going to do is divide by my 0.125. 3,500 you said? 4,500? So my desktop D is $4,500, 4,500. I still need to find the price of my laptop. In order to find my price of my laptop, I'm going to go to this very first equation that was already solved for the laptop. The laptop was $1,000 less than the desktop. So if I take $1,000 off my 4,500, my laptop's going to be 3,500 then. So these ones are all going to be very similar to this one here as far as setting them up and what they're going to look like when you solve them. So number 12 says, a theater group made appearances in 2 countries. the hotel charges before tax in the second country were $1,500 higher than in the first country. The tax on the hotel bill was 9.5% in the first, 4.5% in the second. After the trip, the total tax paid on accommodation expenses was $662.50. How much was the hotel bill in each country before tax? So I'm going to use F for my first one and S for my second one. If I want to take that second sentence and translate that, the hotel charges before tax in the second country were $1,500 higher than in the first. What should I have for my equation? I'm going to add, and what am I going to start with?
S plus 1,500.
Which one plus 1,500?
Oh, F.
F plus 1,500. So the second one is mentioned first. So I'm going to have S equals something. The second one were or was or is or whatever verb they want to use there. 1,500 higher than the first means I'm adding 1,500 to the first. So S is equal to F plus 1,500. Then I have my percentages. The tax on the first was 9.5%, so 0.095 on the first. The tax on the second was 4.5%, so 0.045 on the second. My total tax is $662.50. So again, I'm going to solve by substitution. I'm going to replace the S with the F plus 1,500. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to put that in its spot. And I'm going to have 0.095F plus 0.045S times F plus 1,500 equals 662.50, so that I have the same variable in my equation. So 0.095F, using my distributive property, what do I have that S back there for? It shouldn't be there. 0.045 times F, 0.045F, plus, I'd have to take 0.045 times 1,500. Point 0.045 times 1,500 would give me 42 point what? 42.5? Oh, 142.5. 142.5. So again, I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms here. If you add the 9.5% plus the 4.5%, what would you get? 0.14 F plus 142.5 equals 662.50. Solving that for F then, I got to move my 142.5 to the other side. Since the plus, when I might move it over, I got to subtract it. So I'm going to subtract my 142.5. Multiply this out for me again, because I'm getting a different number.
67.5.
That's what I'm getting. We might as well fix that before we get too far. 67.5. That one something sounded kind of big, but 67.5. All right, so we got to subtract our 67.5 when we move that over. So 0.14 F is going to equal 62 or 662.5 minus 67.5 would be $595. And then we're gonna divide by our 14%. So divide that 5.14.
4,250.
4,250. So the first is $4,250 for my hotel charges for a week. In the second country then, I'm going to find the second country. I'm going to go back here to that very top equation. It says it's the first plus 1,500. So if we take our 4,250 plus 1,500, we get
5,750.
5,750. All right, one more of those. Oh, no, two more of those, evidently. John bought 2 computers, 1 desktop and 1 laptop. Before finance charges, the laptop cost $1,000 more than the desktop. John paid for the computer using 2 different financing plans. For the desktop, the interest rate was 6% per year. For the laptop, it was 7.5% per year. Find the total finance charges for 1 year were $885. How much did each computer cost before finance charges? So if I use D for my desktop and L for my laptop, the second sentence there says before finance charges, the laptop costs $1,000 more than the desktop. So my equation should be
L times D.
no. The laptop costs $1,000 more than the desktop.
1,000 plus D.
1,000 plus D. So the laptop L costs 1,000 more than the desktop. So D plus 1,000, right? 1,000 more. I'm adding 1,000 to the desktop. Again, we have 2 different financing plans. For the desktop, it was 6%, so 0.06D. For the laptop, it's 7.5%, so plus 0.075L. Total finance charges, $885. So again, we're going to solve by substitution. We're going to replace the L with our D plus 1,000. So L is equal to that. We're going to get rid of the L, put the D plus 1,000 in its spot. So 0.06D plus 0.075 times D plus 1,000 equals 885. Then have to get rid of my parentheses, so I use my distributive property. 0.06D plus 0.075D. If I take 0.075 times 1,000, I get
750.
plus, did you multiply that?
Yeah.
0.075 times 1,000.
75.
75 equals 885. Must have forgot the 0, or missed the 0 when you typed it in. Going to combine my like terms. So I'm going to take my 6% plus my 7.5%, and I'm going to get
0.135.
0.135. D plus 75 equals 885. So if I want to solve that for D, the next thing I'm going to do is subtract my 75. 0.135D is going to equal 810, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go ahead and divide by my 0.135. So if you take 810 and divide it by 0.135,
6,000.
6,000. So my desktop, $6,000. I don't know what kind of desktops they're paying for, but they got spendy products. more expensive than I'd buy. My laptop is going to be 6,000 plus 1,000 because we go back to this first equation, and so 6,000 plus 1,000 would be 7,000. Now I found one that looked a little bit different, and so that's why I threw this fourth one on here, so that if you run into one that looks like this, you'd have an example. It says last year Kareem had $20,000 to invest. He invested some of it in an account that pays 9% simple interest per year, and he invested the rest in an account that pays 7% simple interest per year. After 1 year, he received a total of $1,700 in interest. How much did he invest in each account? These are going to be more like those first ones we did. We're looking for how much he put in each account. We have the total of what he put in his two accounts, so we're going to say what we have in the first plus what we have in the second is equal to the 20,000 we had to invest. Instead of them telling you one was $1,000 higher or lower, they gave us the total that he had. He invested some of it in an account that pays 9%, so 9% on the first. The rest in an account that paid 7%, so 0.07 in the second. And he had a total of $1,700 for interest that he received for the year. So these once again are going back to that addition method where we can eliminate either the first or the second one. It doesn't really matter. You guys seem to prefer to get rid of the first one, so we'll get rid of the first one. We're going to take that top equation, and what should we multiply it by? Negative 0.09, right? So that we have opposites in front of our f's. So negative 0.09. So when we're doing that elimination method, we try to make opposites so that when we add, we can cancel them out. So we have negative 0.09f. We'll also have negative 0.09s. And then we have to take negative 0.09 times that 20,000 on the end. I'm getting negative 1,800. How about you guys?
Yeah.
All right. So when we add our equations together, the f's are opposite. They're going to cancel out. 0.07 minus 0.09 would be negative 0.02s. 1,700 minus 1,800 would be a negative 100. And then all we have to do to solve that is go ahead and divide. If I take a negative 100 and I divide it by negative 0.02, how much did I put in my second account?
Negative 5,000?
Should be positive because I have a negative over a negative, right?
Yeah.
So 5,000. So we put $5,000 in our second account. We still need to go back and figure out how much we put in our first account. So much like those other ones where we had that adding, we substituted that in that first equation and said, well, the first one plus the 5,000 from the second one had to equal the 20,000 that we had to invest. And so if we subtract 5,000, we must have put 15,000 in our first account. Alrighty, I'm going to have to go ahead and work till about 10 o'clock and then we'll do day 22.